Just let me know when you're ready, and if you want to do an audio check. The gentleman just walked in. If you need a white balance. Everybody got quiet when I spoke. That's cool. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so just let me know if you need an audio check. Gentleman with the camera. All right, guys. Okay. Hey, thanks. Did you tell me to?
I'm doing fine. How you doing? How are you? Okay. Okay, let me say good afternoon to everyone. Standing here with Mayor Pro Tem Ellen Cohen, with Councilmember Jack Christie, with Brenda Stardick, who's the Chair of Public Safety and Homeland Security, with Marvin Hamilton, who is, and let me get the full name, is over the Police Oversight Independent Police Oversight Advisory Board this afternoon. 4 weeks ago, January 29 at about 5:15, I received a call from Chief Acevedo that several undercover HPD police officers had been shot and are injured in a narcotics raid at a home on the east side of the city. Initially, I was told that one suspect was down, and later it was revealed that two suspects who resided at Harding Street were fatally shot. 5 undercover HPD officers were injured. 3 were released from the hospital within days, and 2 were seriously injured and remain in the hospital to this very day. Within days of this raid, where a no-knock warrant was obtained, several questions had been raised by family members of Dennis Tuttle and Regina Nicholas, people within the community, the media, and even by some within HPD, regarding whether or not this no-knock warrant was properly obtained in the first place, whether or not there were legitimate grounds for the police to have been at this home, whether or not drugs were being sold or distributed by this couple, did police officers or officials abuse their authority, commit a crime, or violate their trust with the people whom they took an oath to serve. What actually happened here, how did it go wrong, and how do we prevent it from happening again, are questions that have been raised. All these questions, and possibly others, must be answered through a full, complete, thorough, honest, and credible investigation. And only the facts which lead to the truth and holding people accountable will restore the trust that has been shaken between HPD and the public they serve. To that end, I want to commend Chief Acevedo for the actions he has taken since this raid has occurred. He has been forthright and very candid. He has not shied away from asking the serious questions of his own officers and publicly stating that if wrongdoing is found that rise to the level of a crime, he will recommend that charges be filed by the Harris County District Attorney's Office and I will support that. He is reviewing the policies and procedures of his own department surrounding no-knock warrants, and has already taken the position that their use should be substantially restricted and the procedure changed on who should authorize them. I wholeheartedly support that position, starting now. We have discussed the expansion of body cameras by officers during execution of search warrants and forcible entry into locations. I support that. I brought Chief Acevedo to Houston to be a change agent to enhance our standard of policing. His presence, his commitment to our city, to every community, and to the men and women in blue as the police chief of our city is invaluable, and I fully support him. But HPD has not and will not conduct this investigation alone. HPD has and will work very closely with the Harris County District Attorney's Office to find out what happened and who, if any, should be held accountable. Harris County District Attorney Kim Ogg is not here today. She has a medical emergency. In addition, from the moment questions regarding the efficacy of this raid arose, HPD and the FBI have been working collaboratively to find out what happened and what possibly went wrong. That level of scrutiny will continue until this investigation is completed. Lastly, I am asking the 21-member Independent Police Oversight Advisory Board, which is composed of civilians under the leadership of Marvin Hamilton, to conduct its own review and weigh in with its findings and recommendations. I want all of these investigations to move along as quickly as possible so that we can begin to restore the trust and heal our city. We have roughly 5,200 police officers in the city, and 99.9% of them do an outstanding job each and every day in protecting the people of our city and those who come here to visit. The reality is we need each other, and I pray that everyone will give us time to work through this investigation, this episode, this crisis together, and our city will come out even stronger on the other side. Now, let me call up Chief Acevedo.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your leadership, and thank you for being a leader that despite the season that we're in, that you're leading and you're allowing the police department, trusting your police department, and understanding that your police department, despite this tragedy, didn't just look the other way, and despite this tragedy where we had 4 officers shot and 2 members of the community killed in this, that we have from day one very critically looked at our actions. And I believe we not only owe that to the parties involved, the officers that made the entry that day, the Tuttle family, the neighbors, friends, but to the greater community, but most importantly, just as importantly, to the hardworking men of the Houston Police Department, that I can tell you from adversity comes opportunity, and I think the opportunity that's provided me as your police chief is to really do a gut check with our department. The response of our members, the messages they've sent me and our extended command staff supporting the tough decisions and the tough action is being taken just speaks as to the collective heart of the Houston Police Department and of the men and women of our organization. I'm just as proud today, even though we're all heartbroken of what we're uncovering. Having said that, anybody that knows anything about our leadership style and what we're about is that we're not about leaving stones unturned. We take every stone, we look what's under it, and we seek the truth. We are soldiers of the law, and we're committed to constitutional policing, and that's what we're doing. So, first and foremost, the investigation continues. It's important for the community to know that as much as we want to be transparent and we all talk about it, I just want to caution folks that we know we have criminal investigations ongoing, and it's important for everyone to be patient and realize that we can jeopardize the ultimate outcome in this case if we're not careful as a community and we're not careful about how much we're putting out there. And so we're going to be very limited in what we talk about moving forward. I think everyone knows that we as a police department have uncovered some malfeasance. We're taking it seriously, and we're not just looking at what's in front of us. We're not looking at what's the end of our nose, but we have cast a wide net to make sure that we identify any problems most importantly, procedures and methods that we can avoid things like this in the future. A lot of talk has been about the FBI, Mayor, and like you said, people don't realize that we're a law enforcement community at all levels, and we work collaboratively on a regular basis. And based on those relationships that we have, we actually communicate early on. Special Agent in charge, Perry Turner, and I have been in communication since day one, actually since the beginning of us uncovering concerns. In this case, one of the things after calling you, Mayor, and bringing you up to speed, I called Perry Turner and told him, hey, we got some issues here. We talked about it, and he offered his help, and from that moment forward, we've been in communication. Last night, we met with Special Agent Turner and his part of his team at headquarters, and I am very pleased that based on our findings to date, they have opened a formal civil rights investigation into the actions of the officers involved so far, and today he actually delivered the letter on that, and we welcome that. We welcome that in the spirit of transparency, but most importantly, we also welcome that because it continues to afford the police department with our partners and with the district attorney, who really has an oversight responsibility as well, and obviously with the IPOP, the Citizens Police Oversight Board that we have here in the city of Houston, that eventually will get to see all of the evidence in this case, and Mr. Marvin Hamilton is here, who's the chair of that. Look, when you go to a scene, when you see two dead individuals, and you see officers, and I was there early, and I see officers covered in blood, and I see all this chaos. The first thing that starts going through my mind is, what can we do different? What was it that we can do differently? How did we get here? And that's how we started asking the tough questions. And one of the things that's going on across our country as it relates to the no-knock search warrant tactic is a debate as to whether or not it's a tactic that we know it's a high-risk proposition, but is the tactic that's worth the risk. We've done that risk analysis. I'll never forget, in April of 1970, I was a brand new police officer with California Highway Patrol in the academy. Actually, I was in the academy within the first couple of weeks. We learned about something called the Newhall incident involving the California Highway Patrol in April of 1970 in Newhall, California, where 4 officers were murdered and gunned down. That police department didn't turn away from that. They looked inwardly, and they revolutionized tactics across the nation, which I believe saved lives. As a result of this, we have made the decision with your support, Mayor, to effective today, immediately, we've issued this policy, and with your permission, I'd like to read it. It's a very simple policy now. I know people want to do away with them. Some folks would say do away with them 100% of the time, but you just simply can't do that. You have to maintain this ability to do this in an exigent circumstance where you truly need to use it. For example, you have a hostage rescue situation where you don't want to knock and say you're coming in the middle of the night. You're going to do a no-knock entry. So our policy was issued today, February 20th, and the subject is no-knock search warrant restrictions. Effective immediately prior to seeking judicial approval for a no-knock search warrant, the chief of police or his designee must review and approve the request. To the extent this policy conflicts with any other policy, this circular will supersede, and it's signed by me with the support of my boss. And the reason we're doing that is that we've come to the determination we don't want to wait till we have more death, more people injured. And if there is a situation where the tactical considerations or the circumstances provide an exigent set of circumstances where this type of tactic is appropriate, it will require the police chief, and quite frankly, only other 2 people that I will give the authority to in my absence will be Chief Slinkard, the Executive Assistant Chief, and Chief Troy Finner, who are my 2 right-hand guys here. The last thing I want to say is about 8 weeks ago, like I said earlier to the community, we started a project in looking at the next iteration of the development of our body-worn camera policy. There's a national discussion as to whether body-worn cameras should be worn during the execution of search warrants. And I can tell you we have 50 states, we have 18,000 police departments, and we have many views and opinions on that issue because of the privacy considerations and everything else. But we believe in our police department that when you do execute a search warrant, an arrest warrant, and force entry into a residence or a business, that there's a high potential for a use of force deadly force or even less than deadly force. And having said that, we have come to the conclusion in our department that the policy for us will be that we will be moving very quickly to actually have body-worn camera deployment with our SWAT operations and our warrant executions across the city. I'm proud to say that I've reached out to Ms. Terry Burke, somebody who I've worked with many years, and you know her from the legislature, the executive director of the ACLU. Because again, there's not a one-size-fits-all across the country. And for the state of Texas, based on the leadership that you provided during the body-worn camera legislation when you're still in the legislature, we believe that we can accomplish what we want to accomplish, which is to capture the actions of the police officers, to capture the actions of the suspects in these incidents, and most importantly, to have a record that people can form their own opinions when the questions are raised or when deadly force or any other force is taken. And I'm happy to say that the ACLU, I think they might have already released a statement, completely supports for the state of Texas, based on our state statutes, based on what you enacted, that they support it. So with that, I'm just going to ask the community to thank you for your patience. I want to tell our activist community that actually met with us. We had that town hall that initially was very emotional, as you can imagine, but everybody calmed down. We had a great exchange of information. And then the activists that came to our office yesterday, I want to thank you for once again, Houston, showing what we're about. We're about taking tragedy, we're about taking challenges and seeking opportunities to move our city forward hand in hand, community with police and Harvey, first responders with the community. And once again, I think when this is all over, when we get to the end, that we're going to be a model for the rest of the nation on how you take a traffic situation like this, and good will come out of it. So thank you again, and I look forward to any questions.
Thank you, and we'll take any questions now from the media.
Mayor, Chief, now that the FBI has opened up a civil rights investigation, what role will the HPD have in this? Will they continue to investigate, or will you take a step back in this investigation?
Let me just say, from the very beginning, when questions came about, the two have been working collaboratively, both HPD as well as the FBI. And that's been from the beginning, when questions arose with regards to the raid. That, as I indicated earlier, that process, that level of cooperation will continue until the investigation is complete.
Monitoring collaboratively.
One second.
But Mayor, on a follow on that, speaking with each other and the two parties is much different than an investigation, which is now what Chief Acevedo has announced. So, Chief, if I get you to comment on this, what role will the HPD now have in this investigation? Will you have to step back and allow the feds to take complete control of this?
If you want to address.
No, as a matter of fact, the FBI and Department of Justice is not interested in taking complete control, because what we have modeled as a police department is not a police department that's covering up. What we've modeled as a police department is a department that, despite an emotional event, we put emotions aside, and we have a mindset that when lives are taken, officers are shot, that we have to do our due diligence. And so what will happen is that the FBI will do a collaborative investigation. It's independent. However, we'll actually have to work with them, because we will provide them information and some of our evidence. We're already having those conversations starting today. We started talking about sharing it. That'll be independent. The state charges that are potentially involved here will continue. That investigation will continue by the Houston Police Department in conjunction with the Harris County District Attorney's Office. We will continue our investigation. Having said that, because we'll be walking side by side as we uncover things in our investigation and evidence, that information consistent with the rules of engagement in terms of the way we handle that evidence, and consistent with state law and other things that we have to consider, we will be providing and sharing that as well with the FBI. So it'll be very transparent between the three organizations. And at the end, again, from a citizen standpoint, I love the fact that our city has the IPOP process, the Independent Police Review Board, that will actually get to review all of the information from these investigations, and they will be able to weigh in as well.
How many officers involved in the civil rights investigation?
I don't have that number, but it'll be a team of investigators from the FBI.
No, the officers that are under review. How many officers?
You're going to have to talk to the FBI about that. I can just tell you that the two officers that we have put off on restricted duty they'll be part of that investigation. And as with the investigation unfolds, if we find anybody else that needs to be part of the investigation, obviously investigation will lead to wherever the evidence and the facts lead you to. So we're not going to speculate how many that is.
I think, and let me just say this, I think it's very important for the reason why we're having this press conference. Instead of trying to deal with facts as they come out piecemeal, what is important is for there to be a full and complete, thorough, honest, and credible investigation. That's what's critically important. And so we need adequate time for that full, complete, thorough, credible investigation to take place. And there are several levels of review and oversight, from HPD to FBI to the Harris County District Attorney's Office to the Independent Police Oversight Review. Okay.
The district attorney announced, I know she's not here, but that their office reviewed 1,400 cases, 27 active involving Officer Goines. How can the narcotics division, how will its function work moving forward, given how far back this may reach and the impact it might hold in the department in many of the cases?
Yeah, sure.
Under Brady, when you have a situation like this unfold, not only do you have a responsibility under the Brady Act to review the cases, even if we didn't have the Brady Act, we would have been doing it. So that's part of what the law requires, that we open an investigation, even a post-conviction review of any case involving any officer, i.e. One of the officers here, the case agent, to ensure that there are no issues with that case. The DA's office, and I'm going to refer you back to her, I'm not going to speak for her office, they've already sent out notices to the cases they believe that have been identified that this applies to.
But what about the narcotics? Do you think will still effectively move forward, given the massive amount of reviews doing?
Oh, absolutely. Look, let me tell you something. Our police department, we're not going to paint them with a broad brush. And what I love about, again, our activist community, they're talking about bad policing and bad officers, not the whole Houston Police Department. The majority of our men and women are honorable, dedicated professionals. The work of our narcotics division, like the rest of the work, continues. Having said that, we do have another team of folks that will be looking at all of our policies and procedures and to see if there's any other issues that we need to look at. But so far, we haven't seen anything. But the investigation, like the mayor says, is very comprehensive, and we're going to leave no stone unturned.
No, I just want to say, because I want to be very careful that we don't paint with a broad brush. We have roughly 5,200 police officers. 99.9% of them do an outstanding job each and every day. And HPD's work will continue to move forward. They will continue to be out on the street as they are right now, addressing crimes and solving crimes. So I want to be very, very careful that we don't paint with the broad brush. We want to hold people accountable if there's wrongdoing. We want to make sure that people are held accountable for that. Yes, sir.
Sure. So you're going to ask him, Mayor, you can answer this. Chief Tuitt, curious to hear what you have to say. Critics of the Independent Police Oversight Board say that it actually doesn't have much power because it lacks subpoena power. So, for instance, the case agent here wouldn't be able to be brought into to the panel under oath to testify.
Well,
what do you say to that?
Well, the good news is that you've got HPD doing this investigation, you got the FBI doing this investigation, you have the Harris County District Attorney Office doing this investigation.
Right.
From the citizens' point of view, they can certainly take a look at this entire situation, and they can review, make recommendations from a citizen's point of view on what things can be done to improve as we move forward.
But does that make it truly independent?
Well, I think it does from their point of view, okay? The good news is that when you have these different layers of oversight, not everyone is going to be doing the same thing, and they will look at it from their particular perspective. You've got 21 people representing people in the city of Houston, very diverse, I may add. They come from all walks of life, and I think they can add something to this whole situation. Okay?
Chief, the attorney for one of the officers relieved of duty said that you are tainting this investigation with information that you talked about with investigators and her client. Can you address that?
Well, I can say I've never really mentioned her client by name, and I can't control what the media does, and I can't control what goes out there. I can just tell you that that's her job as a defense attorney to cast aspersions, and I'm not going to comment further on that. And then if I could add one thing on the independent review panel, what people forget, they don't need subpoena powers. They get to see everything. They get to see the files, they get to bring us in, they get to ask us tough questions, and they can ask us, if we have a question that hasn't been asked, they can ask the police department to actually go back and ask questions that, because it wasn't answered to their satisfaction, and that has in fact happened. So it's important for the people to know that this is not a rubber stamp. These people put a lot of work into it, and if we left a stone unturned, they're not afraid to send me a note saying, Chief, we need these questions answered, and we actually give them everything they need.
Marvin, do you want to chime in?
I can't say very much about the case itself. I've seen nothing thus far, but I will say that once we get it, we'll be fair, we'll be firm, and we'll let the facts lead us to where it should be.
Thanks.
So logistics for folks who may not know about the board, how often does it meet, et cetera? Can you walk us through those logistics?
The board is broken up into 4 panels, and there are 4-panel chairs who chair each board, and each one of them gets a different case every week. So we get 2 or 3 cases a week between all 4 panels.
But when was the last time they made a recommendation to HPD?
Every week.
So every week they make a recommendation to HPD?
There's some recommendation, not anything in terms of management, but things that we see in the case that maybe wasn't answered, so we can give it back, assuming we have enough time, because there's a time frame, 180 days, and we only have a couple of weeks. So we give it back and say, what about this? And most of the time, we get an answer.
Thanks, Marvin.
Chief, Sergeant Goines, in documents that we uncovered yesterday at Channel 2 Investigates, had 10 sustained cases of complaints against him. Should he have been on the streets?
Look, I'm not going to talk anymore about any of the subject officers in this. Moving forward, our responsibility is to conduct an investigation. Everybody knows how serious this investigation is, and I'm just going to tell you, we're done talking about anyone that's a target in this investigation. We're done talking about the investigation, and we're going to focus on one thing and one thing only, and that's a couple of things. A, uncovering the truth, and B, doing everything we can to ensure we don't have a recurrence of this kind of behavior.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let me just say, and I'm sure Councilman Mostarda, as chair, will be probing and asking questions as well. And sure, absolutely.
You know, I'm not shy. I am Chair of Public Safety and Homeland Security, and I am very, very concerned. I'm very concerned for the safety of our police officers and for our citizens. And today, yesterday I had a very frank conversation with our chief, that our expectations at council, that we will have a briefing and that we'll have ongoing conversations. We have been asking for body cameras. We've been asking for the technology to be a different technology, the storage. We've made those asks, and we are going to be doing everything we can to promote that. The other thing is, we don't want to ever set anyone up for failure the way this was set up. And so whatever we need to do to support our police, all of our first responders, we want to make sure we do it right. So please, if there are any citizens out there that have concerns, reach out to your council members. And the Independent Police Oversight Board, I have visited with them on many occasions. They take their responsibilities very seriously. These are citizens, average citizens, that come in and do the work on their own time. And they do it for the right reasons, and we appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Let me thank you for being here. If you have any additional questions. Oh, in Spanish?
Yeah, but I want to ask you too, when we visited the site where this happened, many residents are concerned. They are fearful they're telling us that they're fearing for their lives because of what happened. What can you say to the community, to those that have already doubts about trusting the police? It takes so long for them to actually trust you guys. And now this happened, and they have so many questions. They don't even want to talk on camera because they believe that they're going to go after them. What can you say?
Let me just say very, very quickly, and without hesitation, we have outstanding police officers, men and women in blue, 5,200 of them that are out on our streets each and every day. And they're putting their lives on the line. And they do their job in an impeccable way, okay? Every single day, 365 days out of the week. And they're out there right now. It would be a mistake on everyone's part to take one incident and paint them all and put them all in the same basket. And for those who have been in this city for quite some time, when it comes to police relations with the community, we have come a long way in this city. And that's why it's important for us to work extra hard to hold on to the trust of the people in this city, to work to build the relationship between the police and the community, because quite frankly, we're all on the same team, and we ought to be moving in the same direction. And so when incidents of this kind happens, yes, it takes all of us working together to get to the bottom of it, to hold anyone accountable for any wrongdoing, and to put in policies and procedures and practices such that these wrongs don't happen again. And that's what we're going to do. And those are the steps, those are the commitments, those are the promises that we are making. And I have no doubt that we will do just that. Now, if you have any other individual questions, feel free to come and ask them individually. Myra, if you have any others, talk to them individually.
Mayor, I have a question for you.
Well, you can come talk to me individually too, Mario.
One-on-one, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, thank you so very much for being here. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mayor. I want to do Spanish on the side.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Thank you.